Looks like he's on the line. In case we need,
I'm here.
okay, great.
I have no report, but I would like to make a quick comment, if I could, about a matter that has come up this week. If you would indulge me just for a moment.
Please.
There's been a substantial amount of conversation and confusion about over the past week of a matter that was presented to the Planning Commission at last week's meeting, which involved the adoption of a resolution by the Planning Commission that approved of some amendments to a portion of the comprehensive land use plan that the town adopts as a guideline or as a vision for the development of the town. And the suggestion has been made that the of that resolution at the Planning Commission's meeting last week was improper because certain comments that had been submitted by citizens were read during citizens' comments rather than during the discussion and action on the proposed amendments that were being to the comprehensive land use plan that were being considered by the Planning Commission. And the suggestion that somehow that was improper or done improperly caused me to think that I should look into it, try to understand what happened, and make sure that that resolution was properly adopted. And keep in mind that that was a resolution. It was not a rezoning. It was not an amendment to an ordinance. It was simply the Planning Commission adopting a resolution saying we accept these changes to the comprehensive land use plan, which is not a legislative document. It's not like law. It's simply a guideline. When I looked into it, first thing I did is I looked at the comments that apparently were read at the end of the meeting and during citizens' comments rather than during the discussion. And I was somewhat surprised to see that all of the comments that apparently some people intended to relate to the resolution that had been considered earlier in the meeting, none of them mentioned the resolution. They all talked about the rezoning of property for the development of apartments at the old Kroger shopping center. Well, there wasn't a rezoning on the agenda to be considered by the Planning Commission. Actually, there was nothing about the development of apartments at that meeting that was under consideration. And so part of the issue here has to do with the fact that we're in this COVID situation and people are not present in the meetings, and therefore when something comes up on the agenda, normally they would pop up and talk about it at that time. But because people submit their comments in advance, if there's not a clear indication that they want it read at a particular point in response to a particular thing on the agenda, judgments are made by the town staff about whether they're citizens' comments or whether they're directly related to a matter on the agenda. And in this case, you read the comments, they had really nothing to do at all with the resolution to amend the comprehensive land use plan, and therefore they were read at the end of the meeting. And that has caused concern to some people who apparently, at least in their mind, thought they were commenting on amendments to the comprehensive land use plan, when in fact they were not. They were commenting on their either opposition to or support of the plan that is being discussed and being worked on by the town staff to possibly develop the old Kroger Shopping Center property and the Bill property. So I just wanted to assure everybody that there was nothing improper, nothing inappropriate, nothing illegal about the way in which the resolution was adopted. For those people who want to oppose the apartments that may be under consideration at some point in the future if a final plan is ever submitted, there's going to be all kinds of opportunity to come to any number of meetings to comment on how you feel about that development. I would just like to urge everybody to keep an open mind, understand what is being considered. We have a lot of different types of actions that the town takes. The Planning Commission and the Board, Mayor, and Aldermen, sometimes they adopt resolutions, sometimes they adopt rezonings, sometimes they amend ordinances. It all depends on what the matter is as to whether it's really anything that is legislative in nature. What was happening with this resolution was nothing legislative. It was simply a resolution saying they approved of the amendments that were not directly related at all to the apartment possibilities for that property. So I just wanted to make clear that I've reviewed it, I've looked into it. Everything is fine and copacetic. It's not a problem. So if y'all have any questions for me, I would be more than happy to take them. But I just felt like when I hear things like the suggestion that somehow the town is not properly presenting things or is not being transparent, I've been doing this for a little over 20 years now, and I have never been involved in any matter involving the town where I felt like the elected officials were not doing anything but completely transparent and trying to do the best they can do. It does not help the operation of the government move well or work well when people, and I realize it's a challenge with the pandemic right now. You can't be in person and it's difficult to submit your comments and all that. But I think we need to ratchet down the tension and the anger a little bit, and let's try to be a little bit more civil, like it's always been the case in the town of Farragut. And I thank you for letting me make those comments.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. Please stand by if we have any other questions in case we do it later on. So that pretty well concludes that part of our meeting. And then pursuant to the governor's current executive order, we ask that all Farragut citizens' comments be emailed to comments@townoffarragut.org, which must, along with their names and addresses, be received by 12 p.m. the day of the meeting, be included in the record of that night's meeting. They must also abide by the public forum protocol to be read into the record. I'll now ask the town recorder to please read in all eligible comments or questions with a 5-minute time limit on each subject, please.
Yes, sir. First one is on Bridge Crossing 11118, Fairfield Boulevard. Says I'm writing in support to the proposed development of the old Farragut property, or old Kroger property. There is plenty of negative buzz around impacts to traffic, schools, and property values. Some have merit, while others have been discussed at length, and mitigations are planned. To focus on the positive, I see the town center and future connection to the recently developed Humo Station area a huge benefit to Farragut citizens. Creating a walkable, family-friendly environment can have a huge draw to new citizens. And housing options aside from single-family homes have been planned for this area and only makes sense. I'd like to see smaller shops, restaurants, art, entertainment occupy the new commercial areas where residents can enjoy time with their friends and family. It would be a very welcome change to the types of retail you find in Turkey Creek and surrounding areas. Being directly across from several local schools, we give students and families areas to gather before and after school, as well as before and after performing arts and sporting events. The town can host new types of events in the new town center area and the green space and walking paths will be a welcome change to what currently resides in the property.
Hey, I guess we'll leave.
Mr. Compton.
Okay, I'll set the
Our
alarm then
second
when you
speaker is
when we
Patrick
leave.
Lee. He's at
Have a good
405
one.
Hudson Lane. He says, I just read the Farragut Press, and I'm disappointed and frustrated that the people of Concord Hills were completely ignored last Thursday in the Farragut Planning Commission meeting regarding the item about text amendment, the old Kroger Fiddle Farm apartment proposal. The planning commissioner said there were comments to be read before the vote was held. However, the email comments from the people from Concord Hills were not read until after the vote was held. They were actually read in Citizens Forum at the end of the meeting. I believe the state law was broken, and I request this item be revoted in the next Farragut Planning Commission meeting. Is it necessary for the Farragut residents to hire a lawyer to begin to get the Planning Commission to obey the law? Our next one is Lori Castello. It's 11422 Hawkstone Lane. Says, I have been a resident of the town of Farragut for nearly 12 years. The Kroger Fiddle Farm property has been vacant and an eyesore for most of that time. While I'm much in favor of that property being developed into something more appealing, and I like the idea of the town center, I'm not sure the apartments being proposed are the best use of the property. Farragut has very little affordable housing for first-time home buyers, single adult, and small families. Instead of rental apartments, how about put in condos and townhouses that can be purchased as entry-level homes? With interest rates so low, house payments will likely be less, and apartment rent is likely more affordable to those needing housing but unable to afford a large home in the subdivision of Farragut. Ownership versus tenancy. Tenancy will cause people living there to take more pride in this property and take better care of it, as well as better care of the amenities planned for the community. I believe affordable condos and townhouses versus apartments would be a better investment in the town of Farragut and would do a lot more than an apartment complex to keep the property value in Farragut strong and healthy. Our next one is Blake Ford at 11037 Crossland. I'm a resident of Concord Hills in Farragut. I'm very much opposed to the high-density apartment proposal with regard to the town center. Next one is Hayden Oakley at 11103 Crown Point. Dear Board of Mayor and Aldermen, please do not move forward with the rezoning of the property for high-density housing related to the town center. There is not a consensus from town residents on this. Surveys of residents wanting a town center does not mean they want a large apartment complex to make that happen. Town residents should have more opportunity for feedback on the specific transformational proposed project. Even the McPhee Park expansion has significantly more feedback opportunity regarding proposed plans. The traffic and school crowding concerns have not been properly addressed. Please listen to your residents and constituents instead of deciding that you know what is best for us. We can do better as a town than the proposed project. There's not a need to rush this through during a pandemic, which is limiting community involvement in the decision making. Thank you. Next one is Hal Akins at 10901 Lookout Point. I join my Concord Hills and Farragut neighbors in expressing outrage in the way in which our town Board of Mayor and Aldermen have handled the rezoning of the old Kroger Fiddle Farms property. You are supposed to represent the citizens of Farragut and at least give us a voice before making such impactful decisions. I don't believe anyone would object to the proper development of the properties in question. However, the proposed construction of this apartment complex would totally change the nature of our city and its attributes that attracted its residents and business owners here in the first place. It is only proper at this juncture that you revote the issue and at least delay any forward progress in this rezoning application until more studies and better resident input are obtained. I will restate my original email opposing the rezoning, as I understand this was not read prior to the vote being taken. We would like to express strong opposition to the proposed rezoning of the old Kroger Fiddle Farms property that would permit the construction of high-density apartment units on that site. As residents of Farragut for 29 years, we cannot imagine the input impact of introducing 291 60-foot-high apartment buildings into our neighborhood and our community. Has anyone given consideration to the effect of approximately 500 additional cars flowing out to the surrounding roads? We already have trouble getting out of our Concord Hill subdivision due to the traffic back up at the Concord Road, Campbell Station Road traffic light, which regularly extends to Kingston High. In late afternoon, we often have to keep driving west to Campbell Station Road to circle back to Concord Road, to enter Concord Hill. Where will the extra traffic line up into Kingston High? In addition to traffic problems that we believe is a nightmare waiting to happen, we are also concerned with the high-density apartments across located at the center of the town, which changes the very nature of the area and where the diversity of housing styles and value of Farragut subdivision is what attracted us and others here in the first place. Please do not permit this to be destroyed through rezoning. Thank you. He also states, in closing, I implore you to please do the right thing for the Farragut citizens. Once the development like this gets started, there's no turning back, and it will bring about regretful changes at a tremendous cost. What's next? Busy thoroughfares, overcrowded schools, a need for a home police force. Farragut never lose its unique reason for being incorporated in the first place. Historically, zoning decisions have seemed to be compatible with the original vision, but with decisions like this, we may as well be annexed into the city of Knoxville. Please do not let this happen. Our next one is Mike Mitchell at 716 Birchworth Boulevard. I'm writing in protest to last week's Farragut Planning Commission meeting where the people of Farragut were ignored on the vote on the text amendments on the proposed 280 apartments at the old Kroger across from the high school and middle school. 29 Concord Hills and Farragut residents emailed the Planning Commission, and they were not heard until after the vote. That is a clear violation of the tendency of the meeting map. If that was not bad enough, the amendments Vice Mayor Louise Coughlin made affected other parcels in Farragut and were not publicly noticed in the Planning Commission's agenda as required by state law. The Planning Commission is required by state law to hear the citizens. That did not happen. I want this item to be revoted according to the laws of our state. I object to the way agendas are written so as to give the least amount of information to the residents. Below is an example. The agenda for the staff developers is clear. The agenda for the residents is not clear. Please stop doing this. The residents deserve the same clarity as the town staff and developers. It's an example from the agenda for the staff developer Tuesday, September 1st, the F-50 items. Discussion with CLUP and zoning related text amendments associated with the redevelopment of the old Kroger property. Farragut Town Center at Biddle Farm and states the parcels of 45 acres, site incorporated applicant. The agenda for the public Farragut Municipal Planning Commission dated September 17th is discussion and public hearing on amendments to the text of the comprehensive land use plan update as it relates to the mixed-use town center and use description. That's the town of Farragut applicant. Our next one is Nicole Barbie of 406 Monster Lane. Hello. I live in Concord Hills and received notice they are planning to vote to allow a large apartment complex to be built at the old Kroger versus the stores with apartments above them they originally said years ago, and when they started the town center discussion. The location cannot support the additional traffic from close to 300 apartments across from the schools and will make our neighborhood impossible to get out of, as well as decrease property value in addition to apartments. I have never been asked about a survey or anyone in my direct family, all in the Farragut area as well, Old Stage Hills, Glen Abbey, and Village Street. I hope the town decides to vote in the plans again. The majority of this town is against the revised apartment plan. Next one is Alan Connie Sanjoy at 11136 Crown Point. I'm adamantly opposed against the rezoning of this area. We already have too much traffic on Concord Road. I live in Concord Hills, and at certain times of the day, it takes at least 5 to 8 minutes to get out of our neighborhood. The addition of more students have already overcrowded Farragut schools is also an issue not mentioned. The danger added traffic would be to these students. We don't need more buildings in the immediate area. There are already vacancies up and down Kingston Pike and Farragut. Adding more is not the solution. Farragut has always been a stickler for not too many or too high or too big signs to take away from the beauty of the area. This proposed project would most definitely change the beauty of our town. And next one is Mike and Mary Sneed at 11130 Crown Point. It says, folks, we oppose the old Kroger/farm apartment. Residents of Farragut live here because of the quality of life. Developers know this and build up remaining farmland and put it upon the town to pay for massive infrastructure to service their growth. Residents already voiced their opposition to low-cost apartments along Concord Road, and now the effort looks to the Kroger farmland. Traffic is already a funnel to unfinished Concord Road construction, which is over budget and late on completion. Traffic will become a mess through the town center and bad at the entrance to Concord Hills, but the cemetery would prevent road expansion. I suggest making the Kroger farmland into a park following other successful parks in the town. Next one is Rich Hoffman at 403 Ensign Lane. What is this talk in the Farragut press today that the Farragut residents who are against the 280 apartments across from the high school and middle school are anti-town center voices? This is a generalization that is not true. Town center would be great. I think the town should have input to what kind of residential we would like to see. Condos would be great, but rental apartments will ultimately bring the value of our down the value of our neighborhood. No thanks. We are for the town center, but against these apartments. The amendments the Vice Mayor made last Thursday in the Planning Commission were not on the agenda. The amendment stating only this parcel could be a town center will instantly depreciate Eddie Ford's property and other surrounding properties. No one can make sweeping changes like that when they are not noticed on the Planning Commission's agenda. Traffic is bad in Concord Road up and down from Campbell Station and to Kingston Pike. This doesn't even mention how bad the road gets north of Kingston Pike during school traffic. If you've had kids in the middle school and high school and drive Concord Road, you will understand this. Pushing 280 apartments into this road only increases the problem. No to rental apartments. We need a revote with informed voters to understand what the town really wants. The next one's Dustin Mills at 500 Smith Road. I would like it to be known that I'm against the apartment development roads for the Kroger site in the town of Farragut. I feel the Farragut officials should take into account our issues with the existing infrastructure, schools, communities, and the lack of police presence in Farragut while entertaining all current and future proposals for high-density living developments in the town of Farragut, regardless of where they are proposed. I would also like it to be known that I am not anti-apartment. I feel apartments serve a purpose for communities, but I find it irresponsible to haphazardly place them in communities where pre-existing issues with overcrowding and lack of law enforcement are present. Thank you for your time. P.S. I did not receive a flyer for the proposal like some of the community members have reported. My mailbox has been smashed several times this week for unknown reasons. I'm not sure whether a flyer was mailed and then lost or mailed at all. Last year, a drunk driver drove over my hedge to destroy several large stiff laurel bushes, and the right-of-way in front of my home is continually being destroyed by vehicles swerving off the road at night. During the evenings on any given night, I can provide you video footage of dozens of vehicles recklessly disregarding stop signs at the crosswalk on our road. I say at night, not because it doesn't happen through the day, but because you can clearly exhibit a lack of brake lights, meaning the stop sign is being completely disregarded altogether. I feel like the town of Farragut should take more steps to increase police presence within the town of Farragut to better protect our existing community before increasing its capacity. Thank you. Next one is Rich Crawley at 11121 Hewlin Drive. Dear town of Farragut, I'm a resident of Thornton Heights subdivision in Farragut. The proposed idea for a mixed-use center, including the apartments, is unacceptable to myself and many residents. We do not need more apartments in the area and will drastically affect the traffic flow and peaceful nature of the area. Also, you are not having regular board meetings for COVID-19 guidelines. I'm suggesting the citizens of the area to sign a petition so that voices are heard. Our next one is Jay Ferguson at 10840 Farragut Hills Boulevard. Good morning. The handling of the drastic change to Farragut is very troubling. I'm a resident of Concord Hills and understand our email input was not provided prior to last week's vote. How can we as Farragut residents trust our voice is being heard by our elected officials? My personal opinion is I'm open to change, but as a civil engineer and professional project manager, change has to look at all areas of concern and potential impact. I never saw the survey. Was it conducted by a third party, or was it designed to drive responses in the desired direction of the developer and interest of those who will reap the financial gain? I support change and beautification of our town, even the idea being proposed. But with this change, I would like to understand the plans for the town of Farragut to accommodate the already overcrowded schools and unsafe traffic volumes within this proposed area. These two items alone, if addressed first, may make this development more accessible to town residents and improve overall experience of those who come here to enjoy the center. Please take the time to do this in the right sequence and truly reach out and show that town residents' voices count and are applied to the town's decisions and plans. And that concludes our citizen comment.
Okay, Tom, is there any other comments that you need to make concerning what we've heard?
Let me just say this. All of these people clearly use the internet. They sent their comments in by email. The town has a website. The website has the agenda for every meeting that the town has, planning commission, board of mayor and aldermen, and there is dramatic amounts of detail in those packets that you can access on the internet. If you have any doubt about what's being considered by the board, or if you hear rumors, all you have to do is go to the website and pull up the agenda and go to the item and read what it's about. If you do that based on what was happening at last week's planning commission meeting, what you'll find is exactly what I told you. There was some amendments proposed to the comprehensive land use plan that don't mention one word about a rezoning or approval of apartments. So everybody can rest assured that there was no approval of an apartment project at last week's meeting. There is a long process of developing a project like this. There will be multiple meetings of plans being submitted to both the planning commission and then at some point to the board of mayor and aldermen, depending upon what all happens. But there's plenty of opportunity for people to come and voice their concerns. But because of COVID, I think if you'll go to the agenda on the website and find the item and see what's being considered, I think it'll help you know whether what you're hearing rumors about is in fact what's being considered for approval. The suggestion in these emails that somehow the board of mayor and aldermen, the planning commission are trying to surreptitiously approve this development without getting any input from the citizens is just simply not an accurate statement of what has happened. And please know that you're going to have plenty of opportunity to voice your opinion about this development if it ever gets presented fully. There's just lots of things that have to go into the planning for this, and nothing has been approved as it relates to this development that you seem to be concerned about. And that's all I would like to assure people of, is that if you're opposed to these apartments, there are going to be meetings that directly consider the type of development it is, and it'll be in the public, but you do need to keep your eye on what's going on in the town. staff and the elected officials of the town and the appointed officials spend months and months and months working on the review and improvement of projects, and then and it's in the newspaper every week what's being considered, and then when after everybody's spent a lot of money and time and effort considering a development, then everybody comes out and at the last minute and acts like nothing's been going on about this forever. Well, the reality is, if you read the newspaper, you can find out pretty much what all's going on in the town, and then you can get on the website and see the agenda and the detailed packet that comes out really before every meeting. So let's ratchet down the tension here a little bit, take some steps to figure out what's on the agenda, and by all means, this is what makes the town of Farragut so great. I mean, it's democracy in action. People show up and they give their input. That's not going to change, and it hadn't changed. It's just sometimes I think a lot of people are, kind of not paying much attention, and then when they hear a rumor, then everybody overreacts. And I have to say, I think that's a little bit what's going on here. So don't worry, nothing's been approved, and it's probably a long way from any development here being approved, just because the process is so detailed and time-consuming and painstaking, and you have every opportunity to voice your concerns. Thank you for letting me speak.
Okay, thank you, Tom. If no one else has anything they want to present, then I have to agree with Tom. Education is the foundation of opinion, so if we can be educated, I think we can all learn. The time is approximately 8 p.m., and without objection, the September 24th, 2020 Farragut Board Mayor and Aldermen meeting is now adjourned.